That's why at first you try and you don't succeed, you keep going. That was probably about my 4th or 5th attempt. My arms are exhausted. It's sleeting and raining out, very damp out. I tried to try an old hole here and we got it. You saw in my last video, I usually put pine pitch on the shaft. My hands are always so stinking dry, I can never get any grip on these shafts, so I'll smear them in pine pitch. I'll smear my hands in pine pitch. And that usually helps me out a lot. So guys, when we left, we were sizing these arrows and we established which way we're going to shoot them, the orientation of the nock. So I'm going to continue by cutting in my nock here. All I'm doing here is comparing pretty much my control arrow. Even this is going to probably be adjusted once I fletch it, but I'm getting them all very similar in flex. And I'm establishing the nock point, which you saw earlier. It's very important for me that I establish this fletching diameter early on, because once it's wrapped, I can't adjust that anymore. All the other work when I go to tune these will be towards the middle and the tip. Depending on what tip I put on, can change it a little bit too. I know that's going to be my nock point. This chatter here is going to be my bow, confirming it. Yeah, it feels pretty good. Now let's cut in our nocks. All I have here is just some hide glue, ground up hide glue. I have it in a little clay bowl here. I'm just letting it heat up slowly. I'll usually spend a lot of time just cutting in the nocks. I'll grab like 2 or 3 or 4 arrows, handful of them, and I'll just cut in nocks, kind of get in a rhythm. I just broke my saw. Do you see that edge right there? It's like a 90-degree snap. That will make a fantastic planing, scraping my shafts. That'll last a long time. And I just made 4 of them actually. 4 sides. It's an excellent tool right there. I'm careful to kind of apply a little pressure so I don't split this when I'm cutting in here. Arrow making is one of those fun activities where you just get lost out here. You get in the zone and cutting in nocks or sizing arrow shafts, and it's very easy to just get lost out here. So next thing I'm going to do, we have this fletching area sized accordingly. So we're ready to fletch this arrow. All other work from this point will be done from the fletching out, determining overall flex of the arrow, weight, mass, how much weight you want up front, the taper. But we've established this back end, so we're ready to fletch it. Alright, so I have some of these really nice turkey feathers here, very large prime wing turkey feathers. I like using turkey because it's very durable, it holds up very well. You can keep shooting these things and they hold their form. Some of the softer feathers kind of get pretty tattered over time, but these hold up really well. So what I like to do is, sometimes I like to just get that quill started, the split started. I'll grab a little piece of flint here, split that right in the center best you can. Get that quill started right there. There's a little line there, you'll see it. You could split right in the center of that. And sometimes that's enough to help you just get it initially split. So I have a little block here. I have some marks on it. I use it to kind of basically have some marks just to tell me how long to cut my feathers. I usually shoot for about a 5-inch fletch. That just gives me clearance so my fletching isn't sitting on the bow. So right about there. So I'm just trying to get 2 fletches out of this. I'm just going to cut this. I have to give myself enough to tie it. Alright, so that looks about the right length. Ideally, the more quill you leave yourself, it's a little easier, to work with when you put these on the shaft. But I want to maximize these feathers, and I have enough. I get 2 out of this, it looks like. So that'll work out good. So I'll just match this. Give yourself a little in the front. That. Now I'm just going to match them. Out there. You can just cut this. See how we did. It's good. So we have 2 out of 1 wing. That's excellent. Now this block that I'm cutting on, this is, like I said, this is just my sizing block. I use it to cut length of feathers. I used to use it like a little clamp. You can actually sandwich in your feather that you're working on here. I used to do this a lot. You can actually clean this up a little bit like this. Oh, I think I'm starting my moccasins on fire here. We got our 3 feathers here. And what I have here is some awesome stuff. This is backstrap sinew. I need about 3 long strands of this to tie my feathers on. So I'm just going to peel some of this out. There's one. Just chew on it, that's all. Now, if you get a really long one, it's nice for spiraling around the fletching along all the way down the shaft. This tip here might, this one might be long enough. No, I'll grab another one just for good measure. No. Awesome, awesome stuff. So we have our landmarks. We have our knot cut in. We know that our cock feather is going to be on this side facing me. So that'll be the first feather to go on. Get that established. Now I work with a natural helical twist of these feathers. They naturally have a little twist to them, which helps the arrow fly a little nicer. So the feather doesn't go on there perfectly straight. It has a nice little gradual curve to it. So I work with that and line that up so as it curls, it lands on this outside of the knock. Get yourself a nice piece of thread. Alright, lock it on there. Make any adjustments you need to. Once you line this first feather up, the rest kind of just fall into place. That's about right. I wrap it nice and tight. Right on down past that feather. Make a nice taper there so you don't cut yourself when you shoot them. I tie the sinew over itself. Like that. The fronts are down. Now, what I like to do is I like to take a long strand and spiral it right around through the fletching all the way down until it meets here. This is where it helps to have a really long strand, which I don't have, because I'm going to wrap this all the way down the length of the fletching. And literally just part the feather quill, or the feather. And this is where you could adjust the placement, the lay of these feathers now. Get them right where you want them. dab a little hide glue on all my bindings. Work it into the bindings.